It's a really big point.
Do you
condemn
the killing of 6 kids yesterday lining up for water by the Israeli military?
I condemn the loss of all innocent
all lives matter. He can't do it. He can't condemn the Israeli military.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Good to see you here. So today we're breaking down an absolutely explosive debate between Mehdi Hasan and Michael Gove over whether the current administration has actually made the world safer or more dangerous. What starts as a policy discussion quickly turns into something way more heated when the conversation shifts to what's happening in Gaza right now, and you're going to see one of the most uncomfortable moments I've ever watched in a political debate. Michael gets asked a direct question about children being killed, and his response, or lack of one, tells you everything you need to know. Make sure you stick around for the entire breakdown, because the way this unfolds is genuinely stunning. Also, drop a comment letting me know where you're tuning in from today. I love seeing where everyone's watching from around the world. All right, let's get into this.
Every intelligence agency in the world says Iran was not building nuclear weapons, including the British intelligence, including US intelligence, including German intelligence. They all said there were no nuclear weapons programs. The IEA said it wasn't a nuclear weapons program. Iran, I can answer your great line about chemistry set. Iran calls itself a nuclear threshold state. It's very open about the fact that it is enriching nuclear energy for a program, but that they have the option to go for a bomb. The point Tulsi Gabbard made, and every predecessor says, is that they weren't going for a bomb. They were engaged in negotiations in Muscat, Oman with Trump. The irony is, if Trump had gotten that deal with Iran, I'd be on your side of the table. He decided to blow up that deal, undermine it. You have spent 45 minutes avoiding the fact that William Hague, the former foreign secretary, your former leader, has said what I'm saying, which is that they're more likely to go for a weapon now because we bombed them, blew up the IEA negotiations. You don't want to address that, probably because it's easier to call me an Iranian stooge rather than William Hague. I wonder why. We can speculate as to why, to borrow a line. And I'm sorry, you keep quoting NATO. You get the very long answer. You keep quoting NATO. Yeah. The IAEA was right about Iraq. You were wrong. They're right about Iran. You are wrong.
Mike.
Simply saying I am right and you are wrong.
You quoted Mark Rutte, a guy who sends sycophantic texts to Trump. I'm quoting the IAEA.
I absolutely stand by that. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm going to invite people to draw certain conclusions.
What about William Hague?
Hang on.
I disagree with William on this.
But why? Why do you think he said what he said?
I don't know. Sometimes people of goodwill can disagree. But what I do know is that you don't enrich uranium as a hobby. It's not like
so why did US intelligence say they're not building a weapon?
Geraniums
no, hold on. Why did US intelligence say they're not building a weapon?
Also,
why were they coming to Muscat?
You don't pay for Hamas to launch an attack. You don't support Hezbollah in its murderous attempts to kill people in Israel and worldwide. You don't subsidize the Houthis in trying to destroy world trade because you are actually a peace-loving people. You don't have your supreme leader say that their mission is to destroy Israel forever.
Hold on, you said
if you are merely acquiring this uranium
Only 30
for purposes of disinterested scientific
I just find it a bit
curiosity. What I find curious is that you have all this uranium in front of you. And Mehdi merely says, it's a diplomatic tool.
You've said the G word plenty of times.
Very briefly. Come on, Mehdi.
You wrote an op-ed last year saying the Israeli military should be given a Nobel Peace Prize. A military that killed 6 kids lining up for water yesterday, killed 9 kids lining up for nutritional supplements last Thursday, a military that's being investigated at the ICJ for genocide and at the ICC for war crimes. So it's a bit rich for you to lecture anyone else on human rights or war crimes when you're supporting a genocide in Gaza.
I want to take some more questions.
I merely wish to say that, for the avoidance of doubt, and I don't think there is any, Israel is not carrying out a genocide.
Most genocide scholars disagree with you. Most genocide scholars disagree with you, Michael. The people who study genocide disagree with you.
That is a very big statement, and I want to discuss it.
Let me state it again, for the avoidance of any doubt.
Okay, we've heard you say it. It's a really big point.
Do you condemn the killing of 6 kids yesterday lining up for water by the Israeli military?
I condemn the loss of all innocent
all lives matter. He can't do it. He can't condemn the Israeli military.
This is what accountability looks like. When Mehdi brings up every single intelligence agency, British, American, German, all saying Iran wasn't building nuclear weapons, he's not just winning a debate point, he's exposing a pattern. Because remember what happened with Iraq? The same people who pushed the weapons of mass destruction lie are now trying the exact same playbook with Iran, and Mehdi doesn't let that slide. But here's the part that absolutely destroys the argument. He brings up William Hague, not some random commentator. Michael's own former conservative leader, his own political mentor figure, is saying Mehdi is right. That's not just winning the argument, that's checkmate using your opponent's pieces. And then that line hits. The IAEA was right about Iraq. You were wrong. They're right about Iran. You are wrong. That's not opinion. That's documented history. You can't argue with that without admitting you learned nothing from one of the biggest foreign policy disasters in modern history. Then it gets even more devastating. Michael wrote an actual op-ed saying the Israeli military deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. A Nobel Peace Prize for a military currently under investigation for war crimes at the ICC and genocide at the ICJ, a military that just killed 6 children waiting for water. The cognitive dissonance is staggering.
A couple more questions, Michael.
I think
just
that
wait.
it is the right of the
wait.
Israeli Defense Force to defend
To kill 6
the
kids.
only democracy.
To kill 6
in
kids
the
lining
region.
up for water.
Can we take a couple of questions, and we're going to, I promise, come back to this. We have to. Couple of questions up there.
So I'm sorry to change gear and move away from Israel-Gaza, but it's a question about, it's probably a question to Michael, which is, were you tempted to take the approach with this question that the US, before Trump, was kind of focused towards a kind of alliance-based, us against them, two poles world, and actually the Trump world is a bit more transactional and a bit more ambiguous, and it's much less clear if there was a nuclear war, who would be on the two sides, and perhaps that might be a safer place.
Okay, and there's a hand up just there upstairs to your right, to your, I can't do this, yes, there.
Mr. Gove, may I ask how you exactly define terrorism, and do you think that according to definition that you're going to give, one kind is worse than the other depending on who carries it out?
Okay, so let's go with the first question first, which is this idea of has this presidency moved away from the government of alliances and allies to a more transactional way of doing things, which actually has perhaps made the world a less safe place. Would you accept that as a thesis, Michael?
I think it is the case that Donald Trump places less faith and confidence in some of the post-war multilateral organizations than some of his predecessors. I don't myself altogether think that that is necessarily a good thing. But I think that it's important, and this is the reason why I chose to participate in this debate, to seek to look at the Trump presidency and the round. It is very easy to find 1,000,001 reasons to dislike Trump. But what it's important for all of us to do is to look clear-eyed at all of his actions in the round. And I don't say with enthusiasm or with a light heart that the world is safer, because some of the things that Trump has done challenge some of my own preconceptions. But I have, I hope, the ability to recognize that even as I disapprove of some of his starting points, I can also look at the effect of some of his actions, and that I have the humility to be able to acknowledge that actually the net effect of those actions is to make the world a safer place than it was under his predecessor, President Biden, and than under most, though not all, Democrat presidents who preceded him.
And that question of terrorism, and then I will come back to genocide.
Again, we could spend forever debating terrorism. On the whole, I take the unconventional view that it's a bad thing. But again, behind that question, there may lie other questions which I'm sure we might explore.
Fair enough. I want to come back, Mehdi, you can come back to that, or I'd like to come back to this conversation that we began. I'm keen to get more questions in, but I would like to come back to this question of genocide. It's clearly one that is very important to this audience. Michael was very clear. He doesn't think what's happening in Gaza is a genocide.
The moderator tries to move on, but notice what just happened. Michael was directly asked, "Do you condemn the killing of 6 kids lining up for water? Simple yes or no question." And his answer, "I condemn the loss of all lives. All lives matter." Mehdi catches it instantly. That's the exact same deflection tactic we've seen used to dismiss Black Lives Matter. When someone can't bring themselves to condemn a specific injustice, they hide behind vague universalism. It's a tell. It reveals everything about what they're actually willing to defend. Here's why this moment is so critical. This isn't about complicated geopolitics or ancient history. It's about children who were killed yesterday. Not a hypothetical, not a debate point. Real children, and Michael cannot say the words. He physically cannot condemn that specific action by the Israeli military because his entire position collapses if he admits what's actually happening. Then Michael talks about how the current administration places less faith in multilateral organizations, trying to frame it as some kind of pragmatic realism. But what does that actually mean in practice? It means abandoning the very institutions designed to prevent exactly these kinds of atrocities. That's not making the world safer. That's removing accountability.
You said, I think genocide experts disagree with you. What would be your main line of, how would you counter his statement?
I would say, have you been asleep since October 2023 as we've watched on social media the extermination of a people, the ethnic cleansing of a people, the killing of a people? If you have to only listen to Israeli politicians say the most outrageous things about burning down Gaza, about Amalek, about all of the people being responsible. Bezalel Smotrich, the finance minister of Israel, said recently, we are conquering, cleansing, and remaining in Gaza. It will be totally destroyed. We are disassembling Gaza. We'll leave it in ruins without any global precedent. That's the kind of stuff that Michael's come to defend tonight. And look, some of the leading Israeli Holocaust scholars, Michael, Omar Bartov of Brown, Amos Goldberg at the Hebrew University, Raz Siegel, Dr. Shmuel Liederman here in the UK, Israeli Holocaust scholars have come out and said, we didn't think this at the beginning, but we do now think it meets the definition of genocide, what is going on there. And even if you don't want to call it a genocide, Ehud Olmert, on the front page of today's Guardian, former right-wing Prime Minister of Israel, says the plan to concentrate everyone in one place is a concentration camp, his words, not mine, and it would be ethnic cleansing, his words, not mine. So I think at this point, I think it's insane to still be saying Israel has a right to defend itself when they are killing and ethnic cleansing. I mean, the problem, just one last point. The problem for people like Michael, and I debate a lot of people in the West defending Israel, the problem for people like Michael is they make this very, I want to say, good faith defense of Israel, its right to defend itself, but then you just have to listen to what Israeli politicians are saying, and they are throwing Michael under the bus. Like, no, we do want to kill everyone. We do want to get rid of everyone. We do want to conquer Gaza. This isn't about self-defense. Just listen to what Israeli politicians and ministers themselves are saying. Listen to Israel Katz, listen to Bezalel Smotrich, listen to Ben-Gvir, listen to Netanyahu. It's on the record.
Now we get to the argument that completely dismantles the defense. Mehdi doesn't quote random activists. He quotes Bezalel Smotrich, Israel's finance minister, saying, "We are conquering, cleansing, and remaining in Gaza. It will be totally destroyed. We are disassembling Gaza. We will leave it in ruins without any global precedent." Those aren't Mehdi's words. Those are Israeli government officials on the record. You can't dismiss that as propaganda or bias. That's their stated intention in their own language. But it gets even more undeniable. Israeli Holocaust scholars, people who have dedicated their entire careers to studying genocide, Omar Bartov from Brown University, Amos Goldberg from Hebrew University, Raz Siegel. These are not random people with an agenda. These are Israeli academics who specialize in this exact subject, are in there saying, "We didn't think this at the beginning, but we do now think it meets the definition of genocide." Then Mehdi drops Ehud Barak, a former right-wing prime minister of Israel, on the front page of The Guardian, saying the plan is literally a concentration camp and ethnic cleansing. His words, not Mehdi's. This is the trap Michael walked into. He wants to make a good faith defense of Israel's right to self-defense. But Israeli politicians themselves are openly stating goals that have nothing to do with defense. They're talking about conquest, cleansing, total destruction. When your own side is saying the quiet part out loud, there's no rhetorical escape. And that's why this whole debate matters. Because the people defending these actions in the West keep getting thrown under the bus by the very government they're defending. The disconnect is complete. So what do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.